You see the cover. It says, "Not a hoax, not a dream. In this issue, an X-Men dies." It's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, but it's still a good story. Support the comic book industry by visiting your LCS. My name is Doran. This is SEO Comics. We are concluding our coverage of Weapons X-Men with number 5. Our story starts off with Wolverine, Deadpool, and Chambers, and they're in a time sled, and Wolverine is like, "Wilson, watch what you're doing." And Deadpool's like, "Dude, we're in a time stream. It's not like we're on the Long Island Expressway." So Deadpool's like, "Engage in probability fields, temporal displacement increasing." And then Chambers like, "How do you know all this stuff?" And Deadpool's like, "I read the manual. How else?" So then Chambers like, "We do know where we're going, right?" And Wolverine's like, "Calm down, Chambers. We know exactly where we're going, thanks to Trevor Fitzroy." So then we do a flashback where Wolverine, Cable, Chambers, and Deadpool have Trevor Fitzroy cornered, which is saying something because he's a teleporter. Not only can he teleport, but he can teleport like through time. So yeah, make of that what you will. And they're asking him where Thunderbolt's at. I guess Thunderbolt whooped the bejesus out of him, and then he gave Thunderbolt exactly what he wanted to. He sent him to a certain time. So the Wolverine's like, "What time would that be?" And Trevor's like, "I'll gladly tell you, but I can't help you because, when I send somebody, it's more of a one-way trip." And Wolverine's like, "Well, we got our ways to get through time." And then Trevor's like, "What? You think he's going to help you?" Talking about Cable. He was like, "No, Cable's not going to help you on this one." So then we cut back to the headquarters, and Cable's like, "You know what? Trevor nailed it. He's right. I can't help you. I can't go on this one." And then they're like, "Well, you're going to tell us why you can't?" And Cable's like, "Can't do that either. Just know that I can't, but I believe in you guys, and I know you'll get them back." So then Deadpool's like, "All right, so if a resident time traveler is not going, then how the hell are we going to get back in time?" And Wolverine's like, "I might know a guy." And when he says he knows a guy, it's Ben Grimm, who is human because this takes place during One World Under Doom. So then Ben's like, "I can let you board a time sled, but you gotta bring it back in one piece, and you gotta bring it back for somebody notices." Wolverine says, "Done and done." And if you've been reading comic books for long enough, you know those are some famous last words. So now that we're done with the flashbacks, which is saying something because they're actually going further back in time than when the flashbacks happen. Comics. So they finally get to the time where Thunderbird's at, and he's looking up at the Blackbird being shot down. And coming out of that Blackbird is Colossus, Cyclops, Banshee, Thunderbird himself, Wolverine, Storm, and Nightcrawler. So you know it probably smells like farts. Alright, I'll do it right. He BAMF! So now it smells like farts. So everybody gets down safely, including Nightcrawler, who probably BAMFed down. So now it smells like farts. Now, if you're wondering how far back in time they went, these events take place back in X-Men 95. That's issue 95, not like the TV show, which took place back in 1975. Now, I don't say this too often anymore, but that's before your boy was born. Now, they're there to stop Count Nefaria, which shows how old of a villain he is. He's taking control of a military base, and he has a weapon system called Doomsmith that he's threatening to use on the United States. So then we cut to Deadpool, Wolverine, and Chambers. They're hiding the time sled, and now Wolverine realizes exactly why they're there. So they ask him what's going on, and he explains about how they went on this mission to stop Count Nefaria, and how it didn't end well for Prowlstar, which is Thunderbird, because this is the mission where he died. So they get to the secret base, and they're going in using like a back door, and then Wolverine's like, "I can't go in there with you." And Deadpool and Chambers like, "What do you mean you can't go in?" So Wolverine is like, "I'm already in there, and I can't meet my past self because I can mess up the time stream, something awful." And Wolverine wouldn't know because when he went back in time to kill Hank Pym, he broke time, and it took him a while to fix it. So Wolverine's just like, "Look, trust me. If I go in there, one of us is going to kill the other, and that's not going to be any good. Go in there, stop Proudstar, our Proudstar, not the past Proudstar, and then let's get the hell out of here. So as soon as they go in there and they close the door, he sniffs and then he goes, there you are. So while our old school X-Men are fighting their way to try to get the Count Nefaria, you got Chamber and Deadpool are making their way towards the hallways, which Deadpool's like, all military bases are designed exactly the same. Nothing but hallway after hallway after hallway. So then Chamber's like, you hear that? And he was like, yeah, sounds like the ocean. And sure enough, there's a bunch of water coming their way. So then Deadpool's like, so this is how Doomsmith works, huh? Maybe we should have stayed outside. So now Thunderbird walks up on Wolverine. Now this is our Thunderbird, or should I say present Thunderbird, not past Thunderbird. And he's like, you shouldn't have came here. And Wolverine's like, I can't let you do it, Thunderbird. So Thunderbird's like, no, you're not going to stop me. You see, this was my first and only mission with the X-Men, and I died. I got robbed of all this potential. And Wolverine's like, boo-hoo, cry me river. Everybody gets the short end of the stick eventually. But hey, you're back. So now you can make the most of it. Just not in the past. So then we cut to our old school X-Men. The old Wolverine is freaking out because there's a self-destruction that has been engaged. He only got 9 seconds left. So then Chambers is like, well, you figured out how to do the time sled. Why don't you figure out how to stop this thing before we all die? And Deadpool's like, all right, let me figure something out. We have 6 seconds left. So somehow, some way, he does figure something out, and he stops the Doomsmith. And Professor Xavier uses his mental telepathy to let Scott know that, hey, Doomsmith is no longer concerned. Now all you need to do is stop Trevor Fitzroy. Not Trevor Fitzroy. Count Nefaria. I'm getting my bad guys mixed up. So then we cut back to Wolverine and Thunderbird, and they're going at it. While the old school Thunderbird is on a plane beating up the pilot, and Professor Xavier's like, you need to leave that pilot alone and get the hell out the plane. Banshee comes over to try to help, but Thunderbird ain't listening to nobody because he's hard-headed. So then we cut back to the Wolverine Thunderbird fight, and Thunderbird does almost like a Samoan drop, but he dropped him on his face instead of like on his back. So what we call that, like the Native American drop? Let me know in the comments what you would call this move. Me, I'm calling it the move that up Wolverine. So Wolverine recovers and he starts tagging Thunderbird. Just with no claws, just fists that have aluminium bones. So yeah, those fists still hurt. So Wolverine's like, look, you just can't replace yourself. Like, you don't know how that's going to mess up the time stream. Like, you can cause like Armageddon out of nowhere just because you decided to live in a time where you weren't supposed to live. And besides, you're alive now, so come back with us to the future where you can still be an X-Man. And that kind of jolted Thunderbird to his senses. And then they look up and they watch and they see Thunderbird, old school Thunderbird, crash into the mountain and die. So Chambers and Deadpool get the hell out of there. Deadpool's proud of himself because he goes, I stopped Doomsmith. That means in the past, when this thing was about to go off, I'm the one who saved the day. Not the X-Men, me. And then they meet up with Wolverine and Thunderbird and they're like, all right, you back to your senses? Thunderbird's like, everything's okay now. So they're like, all right, well, let's get the hell out of here. So then we go to Hell's Kitchen where Wolverine is meeting with Cable at some old school diner. And Cable's like, sit down, I'll get you some coffee. Not as good as it used to be, but it's still okay. So then Cable's like, I'm assuming that the mission went good. Wolverine's like, yep, we worked everything out. And then Cable's like, so how'd you get back there? And he's like, an old friend let me borrow his time machine and we give it back to him in one piece. Pretty much. As we cut to Ben Grimm and he's looking at the time sled and it's all beat up. And he goes, that's what I get for being nice. So then Wolverine's like, you gonna tell me why you couldn't go back in time with us? And Cable's like, well, since you guys took care of the mission, I might as well go ahead and tell you. So the Wolverine's like, hold on, don't just tell me, as they walk outside to meet everybody else. So once they're all together, so then Cable's like, I finally discovered the true significance of why I'm here from the future. We 5 are destined to face a coming crisis. So then Wolverine's like, don't worry about the Summers. When this Destiny shows up, we'll be ready. So that's the end. So guys, let me know. Did you guys like this series? Did you not like this series? Obviously, they're going to continue it at some point. Who knows when that's going to happen, but I guess it's going to happen sometime in the future. Could that be 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? Who knows? And the series that's taking this one's place is going to be Wolverines and Deadpools. I said it right. Wolverines and Deadpools. So it's Logan Wolverine or Kenny Wolverine. And then it's Deadpool that we know and a lady Deadpool. I don't read enough Deadpool to know who she is. But we cover enough stuff on this channel and we are always behind. So I don't think we're going to be picking that story up.